Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are on day 8. Welcome to day 8. Welcome to the second week. So proud of you guys. You're pushing through. We're looking at Job, almost a job. Job, chapter 17, 18, 19, and 20 today, and we're almost through the halfway mark of Job. It's this I can feel it too. There's a heaviness about this because we're involved with somebody's suffering and the accusation that was he was constantly under for this. So if it feels a bit heavy, understand it, but look for the really positive, encouraging things that come out of it, because that scripture is always there. And what we're looking for again, so that you understand, we are looking for the the revelation that they have of the creator at this time, so that we can understand as we go into the what comes to Abraham and to his sons, and then through Moses and so on. So we have an understanding of the continuing revelation that is going on here. Again, here's the, the disclaimer that I put up there. You guys can, if you haven't read it for some reason, you can just freeze the screen and read it, but we're going to move on. So Job's in a lot of trouble here because his friends are failing him. It's as simple as that. You know that when you go through a difficult time, you need the support of friends. You need the encouragement of friends. So, yeah, if there's one thing that you're going to learn from this thing with Job, is how not to encourage your friends who are going through difficult times. uh, yeah, this is one of the instances in the Bible that you're taught how not to do things. So, listen, just look at here in verse 11. Okay, my days have passed. He's given up. My days have passed. My goals are destroyed. My heart's desires. Just go back and read the few verses that are around this, and you see that he is absolutely crushed here. He's just given up. He's basically waiting to die. It's all over. Sometimes you can hear this from people who are in their 60s, because we have this mentality at 65 we get put out to pasture, so we figure there's no more value to us, and so on. So my days have passed. I'm just waiting to die now. And yet, some of the greatest things that humanity has ever accomplished has been accomplished by those who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. There's artists who don't start painting until they're 60. Some of the masters. It's never over until it's over. But when your health is bad, when you're in pain, you without the encouragement around you, this is where you can end up, totally destroyed. uh, his friends are just, they're failing to hold up the hope of tomorrow. They're not telling him that there is a tomorrow at all. They're just concentrating on these symptoms that they're seeing, and they're passing judgment on these symptoms, saying that there's a certain cause to it, and it's not that at all. It's like you're having headaches, and the doctor's telling you it's because there's a problem with your toe, where you actually have a brain tumor. It's just the anyway, that might have been bad, but anyway, yeah, you see what I mean. Um, so Job is taking this. Nobody's lifting up a future for him, so he's interpreted that this is the end of his life. Uh, Understand, we are nothing without hope. We are nothing without hope. The hope that we bring into people's lives is the hope of Jesus Christ. He is our hope. Um, he's the one that we run to. If we're running to anything else, uh, we're going to fall short. There might be a hint of something from the world, but it can't be fulfilled. It will always fall short. Jesus is our hope. He's the one that we run to. So then, all this heaviness and stuff that's there for Job, and Bildad comes across, and he can't understand Job's rejection. He can't, like, huh? I mean, we're good advisors. We're good comforters. This is how we comfort all our friends. This is how we always deal with it. He says here in verse 3 of chapter 18, why are we considered beasts, ignorant in your sight? Like, why, Job? We don't get this. Why are you rejecting? This is tradition. This is sound. This is our understanding. Why? So why are you having a difficult time with this? As if. And then again, he puts forward again the idea that the wicked perish, that you're having problems because you're wicked. In verses 5 and 6, to be sure, the light of the wicked goes out, the blaze of their fire doesn't shine, the light in their tent becomes dark, and their lamp above doesn't shine. Now, I want to throw this out to you. How many of you think like this? How many of you think that the wicked cannot prosper? How many of you look around and look at the sufferings that some people are going through and think that they brought it on themselves, that this is God's judgment on them? Because this mentality still runs through for us, and it's not true. We know that the wicked prosper. We know it. We see it. We see it around us. We can't understand, why isn't God bringing judgment? We have known some really good people, not good as in they're good, but righteous people, people who are in love with the Lord, who walk with the Lord, who are obedient to the Lord, whose lives are dedicated to the Lord, and we see them come to an end. Loved ones that we know, dear friends who have died of cancer, others who have been healed, but then there's others who've died of cancer, and it leaves us scratching our head, and we're all confused, and we're confused because we have this idea that in this world we receive reward according to our goodness, and we're punished according to our wickedness, and that's not the way. The righteous are rewarded, yes. There's no doubt about it. There is reward for the righteous. But do you remember the parable Jesus taught about the weeds and the wheat? A farmer had planted good seed, and his enemy came in and planted weeds all around. And as it started to grow, his servants came to him and said, "Should we pull it up?" And he said, "No, let them grow. Let them grow, because if you pull it up, you're going to damage the crop. At the end, we'll separate them." See, people, that's where we are right now. If a storm comes on a city, it's not because that city is wicked. Yeah, the city is probably wicked, but the storm isn't there because of their wickedness. The storm is there because we're in a fallen world, and there's storms. Uh, there's disease. There's all kinds of things that we're going to run into. Um, so we have to be very careful in this mentality, because people need to hear the hope. The hope is found in Jesus Christ, not them being good, not in their actions, but in what Jesus has done for us, and it is so very important. So okay, yeah, we're going to move on from that. In then we find in chapter 19 and verse 2, Job here, on top of everything else, okay, he is feeling the weight of his friend's judgment. Their words are not lifting him up. The words are not comforting him. The words are not giving him any hope whatsoever. They're adding to the burden he already has. In verse 2, we see, "How long will you harass me and crush me with words?" We've experienced it. People come in with the best of intentions, but they come in with platitudes, because they're platitudes that they heard that were used on them, and that's in their memory banks, and it's what they share because they think that it's good, and it's not good. Because God gives us fresh revelation for each person in the situation that they're in, so that they would have hope, not to crush them, not to judge them, not to tear them down, but to call them up, not to call them out, to call them up. Always, He gives us. If He's using circumstances in our life um, to bring correction, not judgment, but to make us better, to increase us, not to decrease us, but to increase us. It's to call us up. That's what He's doing. He's calling us because He's good. Platitudes seldom work. They're empty. Job describes them as being ash. They're just dust. There's nothing to it, no substance whatsoever, and they just add to the weight of the moment. Some of you know that, and you'd rather hear a fresh word of God than an old thing that has no power whatsoever. And so that's what we have to seek for those who are suffering around us. In chapter 19, verse 5 and 6, here we see how far Job has now fallen. We saw where he was, right? We saw that when everything was taken away from him, he dropped to his knees and he worshiped. He just worshiped, and he said, "What are we supposed to accept good from God and not expect bad?" Or, in other, it's like Paul. Paul when he experienced all the things he experienced, he said, guys, I know what it is to have plenty, and I know what it is to have want, but I have discovered the secret of contentment no matter what happens. Paul said he was in a place of contentment. And so Job was there in the beginning, but pain has a way of wearing you down. And that's why comforters, that's why encouragers are so important, why the kingdom needs so many encouragers to encourage one another and lift up. It's vital. It's vital. You can't go things through by yourself. When you're going through something, you need find people who are going to speak hope into you and truth into you and lift you up and encourage you. They need to speak life into you, not death. And so Job has now descended to the place that look what he says. If you look down on me and use my disgrace to criticize me, know then that God has wronged me. God has wronged me and then closed his net over me. Job no longer sees God as just. He no longer sees him as one who brings hope. He sees him as the one who crushes hope. This is where Job has gotten to. And it's really a sad state of affairs. And he sees this as an attack from God. He sees himself now being attacked from God. Remember, God didn't do this. It is something that he permitted, but he didn't do it. And he permitted it because he knew what was going to come at the end of it. This was an opportunity for Job to allow God to shine through him, for God to be revealed to the people around him, to see that he could be sustained even in these worst moments. And there was something coming at the end. And by God's grace, he still received at the end. God's grace is all over Job in this, but here he sees himself being attacked from God. This is where pain has gotten in him. This is where the lack of encouragement has got in him. Look what he says. His anger burns against me. He considers me his enemy. This is bad theology, people. His troops come as one and construct their siege drive against me. They camp around my tent, all because Job was not encouraged to trust God, was not encouraged to trust the Creator, to trust what he already knew about him and stand by that. Now here we have an introduction to something, and it comes by way of Job warning his friends. He brings a warning in the midst of this, and in verses 28 to 29, chapter 19, he says, "You say, how will we pursue him so that the root of the matter can be found in him?" This is them wanting to find out the origin of his sin, where this stuff is coming from. They want to know what sin has provoked this. This is what he sees. They're on a witch hunt. They're trying to find out this thing. What sin was this? What did you do that caused this? And all the time, Job is saying, "I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I'm innocent." And he warns them, you ought to fear the sword yourself. What's he talking about? You ought to fear your sin being found out. You ought to fear God digging into you and discovering what is at the root of things. For wrath brings punishment by the sword. You should know that there is judgment. So you get what you give. You get what you give. This is really an introduction to this in this way. This is an important part because we see this playing out, and we see that for a time, well, God, we've already seen God stating how important life is, that if somebody takes a life, then their life needs to be taken. You give what you get. But the flip side to that, it was what Jesus is going to introduce to us. If you want forgiveness, give forgiveness. If you want love, give love. You'll get back what you give out. Freely you have received, freely give. In this way, it's focused on a negative, but Jesus brings to us the nature of the Father's heart, that he's a giver, and he gives to us so that we can give. And some of you are fantastic givers. You know this lesson. So then in the last one, in just wrapping up in Job 20, we see here Zophar. And despite Job's pleas with his friends, despite him calling out saying, please just encourage me, we find Zophar attacking him again. And it's the argument is really getting tired here. It's really, really getting tired. And the argument is this that Job must belong to the wicked for this judgment to have fallen on him. And this is big time for us. That we have the advantage of knowing what's going on with Job. We're given the privilege or the perspective of the Creator in this. That there was purpose in it, and we know how it ends. We know how it ends. So yeah, it may be a hard thing for us to accept in this world, but our Father has purpose in seeing us going through trials. He has purpose in seeing us walk through those dark valleys, and it's not always about us. We definitely benefit. There's benefits for us in it, but it is often that He would be glorified through us for the world around us. Remember, we've already received everything. Everything. We've already received everything. And we're in this place for everybody around us. And we need to trust God that whatever we go through, his hand is in it to keep us strong and steady so that He is glorified in us as we go through singing and dancing and full of joy and peace. So let's just end it on that note. You guys be encouraged. Love you. Glad you're with us with me. Don't give up. Okay. Listen, spiritual discipline takes a lot. It's it's as hard as learning to be a marathon runner. It takes effort and determination. It doesn't happen by accident. So I just encourage you, keep going. Love you guys.